Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where, as you can probably see, things are a bit out of order. You probably can see it as profoundly as I can, but yeah, there's stuff everywhere. I can't turn around without finding something that I want to change. Just give me an example here. I have 15 of these just laying around my apartment right now. Some of them are folded, sure, but some of them are out in the open because they're filled with stuff. Yes, I am in the midst of moving away from my apartment. And my brain is shattered! I know, especially since I was talking about the stressful and stress-free environment with the key aspects and the key things of making a video being so important. And they are, don't get me wrong, I'm not retracting what I said 24 hours ago. No, it's not the point. It's just that my mind at the moment is not really where it needs to be for me to be able to concentrate and channel my entire being into something great, something magnificent, something that goes through a discussion, a topic, something that I at least believe that I can do better. And today my mind is just broken up to pieces. It's sort of a reflection on what my apartment currently looks like, which looks a bit like if there was a bombshell just come down in the middle of it and disrupted the entire little nation of my apartment, so to say, the entire structure of it all. So today, ladies and gentlemen, in order to truly show you what I mean, I'm going to go through some of the ideas that I had for making a video today. So we're talking the last 24 hours. I came up with some ideas. Some of them are old, some of them are new. And they're just all over the bloody place. Just like all my stuff are right now. So yeah, I thought, why not do that? And I'm of course joining you with a honey spiced cup of green because go the environment, am I right? Am I right? Now, first thing I would like to share, which I thought was something more hilarious than interesting, is that today I realized, and I will probably need to give some context to this, so rather, over this summer, I have continuously reduced the amount I've been working at the gym. Why? Well, because I have a work where I tend to physically be active, which means I don't have as much energy going to the gym. Not that I'm actively avoiding it, it's just that sometimes I don't have the time, sometimes I'm too tired, sometimes I've gotten sick and I think that I should prioritize work. It's like the first time in my life that has happened, by the way, that I prioritize something over working out, and there's probably lots of people who can comment to that, so saying join in on that and support that and strengthening that, because it has happened over the last 22 years that I've been alive. Anyway, I was though continuously also seeing that I was losing calories, that my calorie intake was lower than the amount of calories that I was actually using. So effectively, I was really slowly dying over the first course of this summer. I know it might sound a bit strange, but it's true, isn't it? Because if you take in just a little less than what you need, and if you do that for all of eternity, you will inevitably, shortly, in a time, die, perish. Capish? Am I right? So I started to take in some extra calories, some empty calories, things I never done before. I've been over the last few weeks a huge fan of peanut butter, for instance. And as I said, we're coming to the conclusion here for my first little story topic here, is that today I just looked down and I was like, wow, I can physically see a difference here. I didn't think this was gonna happen until I turned 30, but yeah, there is a bit of a belly growing inside of me. Most people wouldn't consider that to be a problem. They would probably consider that to be a very healthy situation. But me, personally, I see it as an early warning sign. Yeah, it's not gonna get easier from here now, is it? Different diets and things are in my future. Now, it might be me who's just overreacting. Could be that I'm waking up tomorrow and everything's great. Everything's fine. Let's enjoy some more peanut butter without being ashamed of how we look, right? The mentality that you should have. But yet again, for me personally, it's not a social thing, or at least I don't think so. But me personally, I would like to look a bit more fit, since I have looked more fit before. And it's a very big leap moving away from something that you would consider to be the norm, so to say, your normal state. And it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant at all. So my body, my mind, and my apartment is all in shambles today. And yeah, as I said before, my mind has been a bit all over the place. So I thought, why not just try and share some of the ideas that I've come up with, yeah? One of them is I am of the... And by the way, before we move into this, these are just things that I've scribbled down quickly, right? Not within the mind of political correctness. It could be that some formulations here are outright offensive. And to that, I would like to say I would never say this in public. If I knew people were listening, recording, and could prove that I said it. So just bear with me, yeah? As we're going through some of my really, really raw... I mean, I'm always a bit raw, right? But this is really raw material right here. Even before I rawly take them up. If rawly is a verb. Anyway, and Jake... yeah, it doesn't really matter. The first one is... I am of the firm belief that you should be a... and I spelled you with a YPU. You see it is. Now, Rod should be able to do anything as long as it does not affect anyone else negatively. In a sense, you should be a pretty good human being. Yeah? Fair human being, a good human being, isn't it? And then I continue though. However, the problem with that statement is in regards to a direct or indirect effect. I wouldn't argue that there is a direct effect problem, but whatever. For example, let's say that you Photoshop yourself to look better / worse and upload that to social media. Assuming that there is nothing else to offend anyone in the picture, should you as an uploader be responsible for the influence other people interpret from your picture positively / negatively? Is this direct or an indirect effect? Now, I think that is really interesting. However, I think I kind of have talked about this in the past, and I am obviously of the firm belief that you should be putting out anything that you would like to put out, right? You shouldn't be bound to society as long as you don't really offend anyone effectively and directly in a sense where the intent is to offend anyone. However, you shouldn't augment your uploading process and your personality based on that you're getting more followers and more views, and I think that most people can agree with that. I would also say that you don't have more responsibility just because more people are following you. They are making a conscious choice to follow you. It's their problem, not yours. That's just my opinion on it right now. I'm sure I've been stating this before, but it was just something that came to me today. I was like, the most interesting thing in this is it an indirect or a direct effect? How do we actually categorize it? And I would argue it's a direct effect, but not from you, from the people who actually follow you. And then if you scroll by and you do something bad, upload it, they see it in your feed, but don't really concentrate on it, then it might be able to be considered an indirect effect from you or them. Yet again, it's a hard bargain to sell. It's hard to do, isn't it? Now, the next one is a potential racist project. I think I have voiced my opinion on that. The biggest problem with doing a racism project is that I would probably need, in order to just establish how stupid and weird racism really is, right? In order to really show off what's wrong with racism, even though it should be really obvious for anyone who is a decent, even a bad human being to understand what's bad with racism. But in order to really emphasize those points, I would probably feel myself, I would probably feel the necessity of making a video about the reasons why racism can be considered to be good, or something along those lines, which, taken out of context for, let's say, someone hiring me in the future, wouldn't be the best video to put out on the internet, now would it? So that's the biggest problem with that. The efficient frontier from corporate finance. Oh yeah, I know I got half of you on the edge of your seat. Have I not? No? Okay, that's probably why I'm not doing that as well. It's just an amalgamation about how you're supposed to diversify your investment in a portfolio in order to, maximize gains to risk. I think it's amazingly interesting, but most people don't tend to hold that view. The next one is observe people during a day or given a time period and just comment on how weird some of our behavior really is. For instance, my sensation of crossing the road. Plus idea for brake lights in front of cars to indicate for pedestrians if they're slowing down or not. And that is based on my opinion, and I think it's really hard, and everybody who knows me knows this, I think it's really hard to cross a damn street. Now it tends to come and go in waves, but usually if there ain't a light, a green, red and yellow so to say, where I can cross, I have a really hard time crossing the road. And that is because not because I have bad eyesight, but I have a really hard time in the moment, and it's just in this specific situation as well. I have a hard time understanding when I'm supposed to cross the road because the car is slowing down, or if I'm supposed to stand back because the car is obviously not slowing down, because sometimes they drive really fast and stop, and I stand to wait to see what just happened because it was also quick, and then I take a step out to the road, the dangerous area, you know, I'm in danger here, and they start moving forward a bit, just like taunting me, like come on, run, go for it, let's see if you can make it all the way, and I'm like, I don't want to make that gamble. Absolutely hate crossing the road. And there's so many people who have these different little quirks and tweaks that I would like to observe in a day. Obviously, a hard bargain to sell in a one-day thing when I came up with it this morning sort of thing, to observe them over a long time, especially a long period of time, especially since I worked today as well. But yeah, I could probably have made an entire video about my sensation of crossing the road and social convention and how it's applying to it the way I would like to actually solve it, going back to the interpretation of what other people really believe that you're supposed to do, and then if you define the group, what is happening if everybody crosses the road, do you cross the road as well, going back to the sort of the argument, if everybody is jumping off a cliff, would you jump off it as well? It's sort of interesting, but still, my brain just isn't there today, so I thought, there is some potential in there, but given that there is probably a finite amount of videos that I can make before I leave this apartment, before I know where anything is gonna go anywhere, I would probably not like to focus on that specifically, especially since the main body of that entire idea is based on my problem with crossing the road. Situational and personal factors, plus my take on it. Influential factors is the best. It's the only one working really, and situation, you know, and personal factors shouldn't be a thing. And this is all about how we perceive the world and how our leadership styles are. And is it because we are born and inherited it, or is it because we get affected in life? And obviously it is because we get affected in life to a 99% degree, I would argue, but some people tend to like this very trait and, what should we say, trivial I would like to say, but it's the wrong word, but tribal view of how we look at leaders and so on and so forth. And you can also take up the idea of kings and queens, and you know, if it wasn't so that we actually inherit power and inherit this way of thinking, then why were there lots of kings and queens that were a huge family? And then we can just imagine that, well, they probably all had advisors who did most of the work, could we not? Moving on. That's stupid. One of my notes though, and probably half of what I've said so far. Discuss stress of failing a test and that it's not the end of the world. That's not the same thing as not giving a shit, but the world doesn't really end if you do something bad on a test, which is true. I think I have raised that opinion before, at least indirectly. Yeah, that's a meaty one though. That's probably for another day. That's actually have some flaws here. Talking about flaws, realizing some flaws. I like to get things done, which sometimes mean quantity over quality. That almost affected my current side project. Yeah, this is something I've already scratched. Talking about quantity over quality, right? Now, obviously, quality is the thing that you should really be going after. But sometimes, especially with the daily upload schedule, you need to prioritize quantity as well. And it's a good idea to take up the discussion about these things, especially in context to where you are in this given situation. Which different situations can you actually say, okay, we've gone too far trying to attain quality, now it's time to go after quantity. And you can talk about this in, I was going to say French, that's horrible, obviously not. You can go about this talking about production and service and vice versa, and talk about supply and demand of how can we actually reach these consumers the best way. It's an interesting topic, but not really something I thought that I could expand on that much. Oh, make a video in French. Bonjour, oui, c'est la... 1h50 maintenant. Oui, C'est bon? Non? Mal. D'accord. Tu voudrais moi parler de suédois? Oh, non, non, d'anglais? Ah. Merci beaucoup, oui. Je voudrais te parler de langue d'anglais. C'est possible? Ah, c'est possible, oui, oui. C'est bon? Mon français? Non, 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 non. Ce ne bon pas, ce ne bon pas. Ah, non, oui. D'accord. It's utterly shit. Now, I can probably be understood in France, and to some degree, I could probably have a conversation as well. It's just the thing that most things I'd like to talk about, especially putting myself in front of a camera, is I don't like to just talk about the weather and what the clock is, even though I do that a lot of the time, but I don't like to focus on that specifically in a video. I would like to talk about something like the amalgamations of power, the diversification of politics, the idea of what actually makes us human to begin with. What is hatred? What is death? What is life? What is living? What happens afterwards? What is, and this is probably the most crucial part of life, what is studying, yeah? Because what is really school, and how can we expand our knowledge and our learning and go into, of course, the best of all the studying techniques, maths and business. Am I right? No? No, 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 no. Ce ne vrai pas, c'est faux. Okay, okay. Yeah, I had an idea about Professor Sim. That ain't gonna happen. Just an amalgamation and a sort of a collection of all of my personal theories, of which there are quite many, and I would call it Professor Sim instead of Sim.bc. I thought it might be a funny sketch, but yeah, it's probably too much time to put into it, given that I'm making a video each and every single day and that I'm going to study at 100% of my time and simultaneously probably work on something with something or at a place somewhere sometimes. So probably not going to come to fruition either, which is a bit boring. So these are a lot of the things that I've come up with today. Some of them have been from previous times, but most of them came from today. Now, the reason why I say this is because, as I said before, there's a finite amount of videos that I will be able to make before I leave this apartment. And these are just some of the many ideas that I get bombarded by from my own mind each and every single day. And it's up to me to sort of cherry pick which ones I want to do now. And that's getting harder and harder, especially since I already have, like, what, of the 20 something videos I'm gonna make. I have like 15 or 18 of them pinned down already for different topics of discussion that I already want to make. So that leaves not that many to just come up with something on the spot on the day, and that is also why I'm sort of going through all of these things, because I've already sort of sorted them out, except for one that I found now that was really interesting that we're probably going to get into because it's highly controversial, and what is better than highly controversial, right? And my take on the entire topic and how ludicrous it is without really being that ludicrous, which is why most people would think that it is a controversial topic to take up. We'll see how that all works out when we get there, because, you know, if it's not controversial, then why bother talking about it, am I right? It's obviously not. That was probably everything from me today, mates. Thank you very much for letting me turn this stressful situation into a stress-free environment. Why? Well, because now I feel that everything is equally as shattered and equally as much in shambles as my apartment has been, even in video. So now we can just work from here and make everything better. Am I right, people? Am I right? And I who wanted to see the just progress of quality over the course of this little project, over the course of this year, and over the course of the developing of this channel. And now it just seemed to go downhill from here. No, it's obviously going to get good. Am I right, people? Am I right? It's all about that positive spirit, because a positive a positive mindset is going to turn things around. They can really turn things around. Anyway, mates, lots of my scattered thoughts today. Not really something concrete, but we're going to get into that tomorrow with the SNR. Oh my days, I teased it for once. Have a nice one, mates. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.